Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. The Big Blue Nation is both celebrating and looking ahead to UK's next game. The Cats had a big win over Abilene Christian last night. Next up is Wofford. WYMT's Will Puckett and Willie Hope join us now live from Jacksonville, guys.
Yeah, Steve, welcome to Jacksonville for another day of Kentucky coverage. And Willie, it started off with, PJ's going to play. Then PJ's not going to play, and today I don't see how he's going to play.
It's been tough for Big Blue Nation fans to follow it. They were holding their collective breath this morning, really all week, to see if PJ Washington could possibly play on Saturday against Wofford. Well, he most likely will not play Saturday against Wofford. Head coach John Calipari and everyone who's worked with PJ's injury thought it would heal faster. His foot simply has not. Now, Coach Cal is known to be very cautious with his players because of their possible future at the NBA level. And while PJ, of course, wants to take the court tomorrow, Coach Cal wants to make sure the sophomore is 100% healthy.
I just can't imagine, what they're going to do at some point is cut the cast off and say, okay, how they just felt it would heal faster. And you guys that know me know that I'm overly cautious because it's these kids' careers, and I get it. And I know this, he really wants to play, but I also want to feel comfortable that if he gets on the court, that there's nothing he can do to himself, and the doctors have pretty much said that. So it's just, okay, when is it healed enough that he can go?
So Washington most likely out tomorrow, which is a blow to Big Blue Nation and to the Wildcats on the court. They take on a very good Wofford team who can shoot the ball very well. If you watched the game last night, should be a good one.
Yeah, it should be a good one, Willie. They're going to need PJ's length, but obviously, as Coach Cal said, the healthier, the better. Now, when Kentucky fans found out that PJ wasn't going to play at least this last game against Abilene Christian and today, some might have thought maybe they might need a drink to be able to watch this Kentucky team. Well, today, as Kentucky fans were few and far between to find, we walked down the street to a store that had opened in 2015 called Manifest Distillery and found out about their process of making something that Kentuckians are all too familiar with, but with a little twist. The saying is, all bourbon is whiskey.
We try to call ourselves sort of like your neighborhood distillery seeking world-class booze. So that's where it all starts, is we want to make the best alcohol that we can here.
But not all whiskey is bourbon.
So on a legal standpoint, rye whiskey is very, very similar to bourbon. Really, the biggest difference between them is that bourbon has to be made with at least 51% corn, whereas rye whiskey has to be made with at least 51% rye.
Manifest Distilling is a block away from Jacksonville Veterans Memorial Arena and is the central location for the University of Kentucky's Alumni Club's pep rally.
Most importantly, Big Blue's coming to town. And your alumni contacted us, wanted to have this like Grand Central for UK alum. And we were excited and proud to have you guys even ask.
Big Blue Nation is no stranger to championships, and so this is a match made in heaven. Manifest Distilling isn't either, raking in gold and silver medals for their top-notch spirits.
I think we make a really beautiful spirit here, along with some other things. It really represents, I think, Florida. We wanted to make a terroir-driven spirit, and I think we have.
So when Kentucky takes the floor at 2:40 Saturday afternoon, they hope Big Blue Nation finds a new appreciation for the rye that flows in this Florida establishment. A new appreciation for a drink that they were so proud of. The key is to make sure that everybody enjoys it responsibly. Kentucky fans will be back at Manifest Distillery tomorrow at 11 before Kentucky takes on Wofford at 2:40. We'll have much more from Jacksonville, including Willie Hope in sports, and we'll be back at 6 for now live in Jacksonville. Will Puckett, WYMT Mountain News.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Now we will get you ready for tomorrow's matchup with Wofford with Wildcat warm-up beginning at 11:30 tomorrow. The game, as Will mentioned, set to tip off at 2:40 p.m. right here on WYMT. The winner heads to Kansas City, Missouri for the Sweet 16 next week. Tonight we are breaking down the Black Lung Trust Fund. You might have seen the stories of Congress's inaction that is worrying some that depend on the money. Experts estimate the fund is close to $1 billion in debt. WYMT's Connor James sat down with a nonprofit fighting for minors or their widows who are directly impacted by this fund.
The Appalachian Citizens Law Center in downtown Whitesburg has represented minors for years.
Not only do we litigate directly on behalf of minors and their families, we also, as a nonprofit, have opportunities to advocate on issues that are important to them.
Wes Addington is the executive director.
Yeah, it's a very tough issue because you don't want to frighten people unnecessarily.
Many of those minors represented collect benefits for black lung. Now, it's important to mention about 90% of minors with black lung or their widows collect those benefits from the insurance or the coal companies themselves.
There can be situations where either the coal company is no longer in business or the insurance coverage is no longer there.
That's where the federal fund steps in.
Unfortunately, the trust fund is deeply in debt.
The fund gets its money through the revenue tax coal brings, a tax that's remained about the same since the 1980s.
The trust fund has been funded at the same level for over 30 years.
To keep that tax on coal going at that level,
typically you would extend it. There was no extension.
The extension should have happened before the first of the year.
Unfortunately, Congress didn't do that. And what that means is the trust fund, which is billions of dollars in debt, will now most assuredly go further into debt.
Originally, the tax was $1.10 a ton for underground coal and 55 cents for a ton of surface coal. But now...
Well, now they've been cut by more than half.
Addington says this comes from a couple things: the coal industry's effective lobbying and the chaos of a government shutdown.
Yeah, and that was just their inability to address the issue.
The issue is the amount of minors who may need that fund
in the face of minors getting more serious disease than we've ever seen before
will more than likely grow.
So you're going to have more minors with very serious lung disease that's very expensive to treat, being paid out of a fund that is increasingly going further into debt. And it's creating a crisis, essentially.
There really is no solution right now. The fund is deeply in debt and will continue to become more unstable.
The solution is either those rates go back to a level that would sufficiently fund the trust fund, or taxpayers are going to be on the hook. The scary proposition for our clients is if taxpayers aren't going to be on the hook because the industry doesn't want to pay for the problems that they've caused, it could fall on our clients.
And Addington says the clients he sees, they won't be able to afford having that fall back on them.
Now, the Trump administration and coal industry allies are insisting that the trust fund will continue paying benefits to sick miners, but the expected deficits will be covered by taxpayers instead of coal companies. You can find statements about this issue from Congressman Hal Rogers and Senator Mitch McConnell on our website. We'll be right back.